call to order this James City County Board of Supervisors business meeting. Good afternoon. Mr. Stevens, if you'll call the roll.
Ms. Knoll?
Present.
Mr. Hippel?
Here.
Mr. McGlennon?
Here.
Mr. Eisenhower? Here. Ms. Larson?
Here.
All present.
May I have a motion to amend the agenda to add a closed session for a consultation with legal counsel?
So moved.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Mr. McGlennon? Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. First, we'll have presentation, JCC FY 2024 audit presentation. We have Brooke Peterson from Cherry Beckart. The other way.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brooke Peterson, and like you had mentioned, I am the audit manager who has worked on all the audits for the James City County this year. Pleasure to be here. Because we are all very busy people, I will not be going through our complete slide deck. I will just be going through the items we are required to present today. So I'll go ahead and let us go to next slide, next slide. Next slide. So the reason we're all here today, the results of the audit, we have audited the financial statements of James City County for the year ended June 30th, 2024, and I'm pleased to announce that we have issued an unmodified opinion. Next slide. We are also here to discuss the results of our audit over government auditing standards and the state specifications. We identified no instances of noncompliance that are required to be reported under the government auditing standards. And we do have one non-material non-compliance matter that is required to be reported under the specifications. There were no material weaknesses in internal control over financial reporting or compliance matters noted. Next slide. And then in regards to our single audit, we have issued an unmodified opinion on the county's compliance with each major federal program, and we did not note any material weaknesses in internal control over the compliance in accordance with uniform guidance. Next slide. I do not have any corrected or uncorrected misstatements to discuss with you all today. Next slide. This slide is not required, but I want to take a second to go over it. As you know, the county's significant accounting policies are in note 1 of the financial statements, and we just want to let you all know today that in that footnote, you are going to see that the county increased their capitalization thresholds for capital assets, and they also implemented the provisions of GASB 100 accounting changes and error corrections. Essentially what happened is the Economic Development Authority went from a discretely presented component unit to a blended component unit. And so you will now see that line item in Exhibit 1. Next slide. All right, we're gonna go to a few slides ahead. Next slide, next slide, next. All right, independence considerations. We are not aware of any circumstances or relationships that create a threat to our auditor independence. And we are independent of the county and have met our other ethical requirements and responsibilities in accordance with the relevant ethical requirements relating to our audit. Next slide. Just a few more slides. They're pretty wordy though. We did not note any difficulties or disagreements with management during our audit. There were no matters that required us to consult outside of our engagement team. And we did request management representations that were included in the management representation letter that was dated December 9th, 2024. Next slide. We are not aware of any instances where management had to consult with outside accountants during our audit. There are no other findings, issues, frauds, or illegal acts that we need to discuss today. And there were no events or conditions that indicated substantial doubt for the county to continue as a going concern. All right. Next slide. Next slide. So that concludes our audit presentation for you today. If you do have questions, the engagement partner, Rob Churchman, and my contact information is on the last page of the slide. Any questions?
Any questions?
All right, thanks.
Thank you very much. And Ms. McCarthy, thank you and your team for another excellent year. Appreciate it. Our next presentation is the VDOT Quarterly Update. Rossi Carroll, VDOT Williamsburg Residency Administrator. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, other distinguished members of the board. I'm here to give the quarterly update for VDOT for James City County. Maintenance accomplishments from September 1 to November 30th, 2024. We completed 605 of 682 maintenance work orders in that time period, with 77 outstanding. That was an 88.7% completion rate, and it was an 8.4% increase from my last report. You can go through each one of these as you have time. It really just kind of shows you what types of calls or concerns that we receive and what the ones that have been completed in that time frame. It's also broken out by customer concerns that create work orders, and also by VDOT, going out and doing their road checks or audits and determining what work needs to be done as well. That's how you come up with the combined CSC or HMMS, Highway Maintenance Management System work orders. Some current projects we have, our HITS guardrail contract has been awarded. I think the last time I was here, we were just finishing up on a 3-year contract. We advertised and awarded a follow-up that starts this week. The Croker Road widening project is underway, and currently continue the MSE wall construction at abutment A and B of the bridge, doing storm drains and water lines, and met with CSX trying to nail down flaggers working around the railroad tracks. You'll have to have CSX flaggers to perform work, in that vicinity. And then we have the Jamestown Transfer Bridge. That's the hydraulic lift service system. It is the bridge that connects the boat to the pier. So as that raises up and down as the boat leaves, so we are changing over from a cable-driven bridge system to a hydraulic bridge system like this located over on the Surrey side. One of them is almost complete. They're doing testing, but we have to make sure it's perfect and right before we switch it over, because once we start on the other one, it's the only one we have. So it's only two bridges on this side. Some completed projects: Richmond Road bike path sidewalk improvements. That is completed and is in closeout. PM5E plant mix for the summer closed on or fixed completion date and finished on November 15th, 2024. We had the Route 60 between 30 and New Kent line. Placed the cross drains, getting really prepared for the roller compacted concrete project that I'll talk about in just a little bit. PM5E was our FDR, full depth reclamation project that we had a couple subdivisions and roads that we did. That is complete. Skis Creek Connector complete. Long Hill Road winding completed a while ago, but still in closeout. And removal of the 8 timber dolphins and replaced with 6 composite piles has been completed as well. Future projects: Smart Scale 20, the Long Hill Road Share Use Path. Project award date estimated at 4/5/27. The Airport Road, Moortown, and Richmond Road improvements. That's also a smart scale project that is projected to award July 8th of 2030. We have the Jamestown High School sidewalk crosswalk project. That looks to award, it says in there 12/29/27, but I did a field walk on that the other day, so I know preliminary engineering's already started on that project. And then we have the Route 5, 614, the Route 30, 674. Those two no left turn projects are in the SSYP. We are in the process of trying to move some money in the secondary 6-year plan to accelerate those projects. Rev share, we have the Centerville Jolly Pond signal installation. That's shown as November 10th, 2025. And the Pocahontas Trail widening and Complete Street Phase 1. That shows an award date of March 29th, 2028. I also included the PM5E, so that's next year's plant mix schedule for James City County. Mostly the streets in Rolling Woods and Route 5 from the Chickahominy Bridge all the way up to Monticello. They're close to Monticello out. No. Prosperity Court. There we go. So for the Charles City Bridge to Prosperity Court, and it's 6.5 miles of Route 5. We also have the Gap C Design Build project that is under construction, and then we have the Route 60 roller compacted concrete overlay project for Route 60 from Anderson's Corner to New Kent. We advertised it, did not receive any bids. We advertised it again last month. We have pre-bid meeting tomorrow, and those bids supposed to be received next month. So hopefully we'll move forward with that project and get it under construction sometime after the first of the year. FY25 county safety improvements. We did Penzance and Olive Drive pipelining and replacing pipes, and that is complete. We have Country Crossing. We have some sidewalk repair that we're going to start this month, and then the remainder of the money is whatever we can get completed from the Cranston's Mill Pond safety analysis. So we'll try to add those things in to spend all the money. FYA installation, Ironbound and Strawberry Plains, it was scheduled for tomorrow, but due to the inclement weather that'll be coming in tonight, we're going to push that out. It may end up being after the first of the year before we can get that. I will update you as I hear more information. Had a couple traffic studies in this quarter. No littering sign review on John Tyler. It wasn't recommended because the anti-litter sign, it was normal. We picked that section up about 5 or 6 times a year. There was no dumping. It was just litter. So that was not recommended. Intersection safety review there at Fieldstone Parkway and Mill Pond Run. Based on the review, install median pavement markings, providing positive traffic control, refresh existing pavement markings, install stop bars next to stop signs, and install advanced intersection warning signs, southbound approach. Replace the advanced intersection warning signs on the northbound approach to advanced intersection warnings crossroad sign, and then supplement each advanced intersection warning sign with a 2-line advanced street name sign. And then we did an intersection review, Penniman Road and 143, review of the eastbound approach of the intersection from 641 to 143. Based on the review, we recommended stripe and pave shoulder to create a dedicated right turn lane, convert combination through right turn lane to exclusive through lane, refresh all the pavement markings on the eastbound approach to reflect new turn lane, and install new traffic pattern ahead sign 300 feet in advance of the intersection for 30 days. And the intersection sign study for Loxley Lane and Evergreen Way, based on the review, we determined really to install installation of multi-way stop at this location as shown in the drawing. The Meadow Lake subdivision golf cart sign review. We just changed the sign mounting and the foundation and where it was located. So that was the 3 things. And then from July 1st to November the 20th, 2024, we've reviewed 26 sets of plans. We have issued 95 permits, and we have closed out 60 permits. And on December the 4th, CTV approved an abandonment of part of Schmidt Lane, which is a primary institutional route in James City County, located close to Eastern State Hospital, for some development, and that was approved. And that concludes my my quarterly report.
Questions?
just have a question, Mr. Carroll. When are you going to put those things back in the road at Lightfoot? Were you just paved going into the Wawa? You took them down to repave and you said last
Is there
time
no
that
lefts
they'd
down
be
there
go-
where you're talking about at the Wawa? I'm
The
not
what?
sure. I will check.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The bollards is what you're.
Yeah, whatever they're called. Thank you.
I just want to thank you for addressing the safety concern on Loxley and Evergreen, and then wondered if you might have somebody go check on Green Springs Road. There was a pretty severe, I thought, pothole that has come up. I can send you an email about the location so you don't have to drive the whole road or have somebody do that, but I'll do that tomorrow.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I'll send somebody out there.
Thank you.
It's not that long.
Okay, thank you.
Joe, can I ask you to take a look at one spot? You guys did a wonderful job repaving the entrance onto 199 westbound at Long Hill, where it comes down and the lanes converge and it comes in right down, and beautiful it ends. And then the rest of that acceleration lane is sort of like a pothole derby. It's if you maybe just carried the resurfacing another 50 or 60 feet further out, it would have, because it's not potholes so much as it is it looks like big separations in the
I know it is porous pavement. It's
Yeah.
delaminating.
yeah,
I've seen it.
it's okay. If you could take a look at that, because people coming around there at a good rate of speed, it's nice and smooth, and then they hit that
Yeah.
in the
It was all
acceleration
like-
lane.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not all like that, but yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's just
understand what
it
you're
looks like
talking
it's just a little bit of it right there at the beginning, right before you go under the bridge. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Certainly.
I had a couple of things, Mr. Carroll, if I could. First, just wanted to ask you to speak a little bit about the traffic count that you're going to be doing at Skips Creek and Pocahontas Trail.
Yeah, you brought up the issue of how much traffic actually has started the connector, has used the connector to help improve the congestion, I guess, in Grove area, 2-lane section. Paul Holt from the county and I were talking, and they actually have the means. Or started something, so we're doing a study now, getting traffic counts and trying to come up with that information. So once that study's complete, Paul will share with us, and we'll know.
Thank you. And I know that I'd made some suggestions about possible improvements on Lake Powell Road a little bit beyond the curve that.
Well, you referred to the pedestrian accident
Yes, right.
that happened on there, and right. I have the traffic engineering looking at that, studying it to see if there is, we're kind of limited to what we can do there, but in the situation that happened, I don't know that there was particularly anything other than having paved shoulders that takes right away, those type of things to keep people off the edge of the pavement. But
Right.
At the same time, I've looked at the FR 300, which is the police report and what happened there. But we are doing a study and reviewing that to see any safety improvements that our traffic engineering may come up with to help with that situation.
Yeah, thanks. I think one thing that in particular is just very visible signage about a reduced speed as you go through that very narrow section. I think it's okay on one side, on the side coming from Brookwood Drive, but on the other side, coming down from the vineyards, it's I think obstructed by some
Okay.
tree and so
So
forth.
what I'll do is, as soon as they finish, I'll, sort of like I just read off, they'll have some recommendations to do for improvements, and we'll create work orders and get that in our work schedule. But once it's published, I'll provide it.
And right across the street from where that accident occurred, I know you were notified along with me by Howard Smith about the drainage problems that the road was experiencing. I thank you very much for getting folks out there quickly to start making progress on clearing that up. That's great. And I think the last thing I wanted to just mention to you is I'm wearing a tie that's got a lot of Santa Clauses on it, and so I'm pleased that you're delivering a Christmas present to the folks in my neighborhood, like of Rolling Woods, with the repaving next summer. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much.
Is that all it takes, is a tie? Because I would have done that a long time ago.
This tie has been at work for many years, as Mr. Carroll will tell you.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you all very
Appreciate it.
much. You have a good evening.
That brings us to our consent calendar. Today's consent calendar consists of the following items: appointment of local fire marshal, authorization for the reclassification of the existing part-time security monitor position to a full-time security monitor position, contract award $141,528, breathing air compressor replacements, contract award $449,308, replacement ambulance, contract award $187,260, Settlers Market Road Improvements Construction Management, contract award $126,704, Upper County Park Pool Resurfacing, establishment of a full-time regular groundskeeper 1 and 2 position, grant award $27,026, Bulletproof Vest Partnership, grant award $285,000, fiscal year 2024 Homeland Security Grant Program, Urban Area Security Initiative, grant award $16,000, Glass Recycling Foundation, grant award $28,005, Litter Prevention and Recycling Program, grant award $20,000, Competitive Litter Prevention and Recycling Grant. Minutes adoption. Resolution of Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance violation at 106 Discovery Lane. Resolution of Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance violation at 7250 Canal Street. Resolution of Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance violation at 5380 Centerville Road. Resolution of Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance violation at 3701 Mulberry Place. Resolution of Erosion and Stormwater Management Program Ordinance violation at 7250 Canal Street. Resolution of Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance violation at 205 St. Cuthbert. Revised Administrative Plan for the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. Transfer of Publishing Rights, James City County, Keystone of the Commonwealth. Does anyone wish to pull an item?
Madam Chair, I'd like to pull item 15 and 18 with my knowledge of working with the citizens and all. I'm going to abstain from those two so that I won't be able to vote on the rest of them, but those two I'm going to abstain from.
Okay,
And I wonder if I could just maybe ask to pull actually everything from 14 down to 19. Those are all the Chesapeake Bay violations.
sure. Okay, and I am not going to pull, but I would appreciate if Chief Ash, once we are got through the consent calendar, if Chief Ash could fill us in on the appointment of the local fire marshal.
And I'll move the remainder of the consent calendar.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Mr. Hippel? Aye. Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower? Aye. Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, let me ask Mr. Hippel first, and then I will come back to you, Mr. McGlinnan. Mr. Hippel, did you wish to have a staff presentation on the items that you pulled?
No, I'm just going to abstain from voting on those two items,
Thank you.
15 and 18.
Thank you. Ms. McGlinnan, would you want to hear from staff regarding the items that you have pulled?
I did have just a
Okay.
couple of quick questions about
Mike,
that.
if you would. Good afternoon. Mike Wilson.
Hey, Mr. Wilson.
Good afternoon. How may?
My real question here was that I've never seen quite as many violations at one time on a consent calendar, and I was curious as to whether there's an issue that we're starting to see pop up more frequently, or is this just a matter of timing to put all those issues together?
It's multifaceted answer. The short answer is yes. Everything just kind of happened, and it's a happy coincidence that he all appeared on today's consent calendar. The more involved answer is we have been pursuing violations for some time, and we are in process of working through all of those. Some of those the board will see in resolutions such as this, and others are resolved in other manners.
So I wonder, is it the case that we need to amp up the information to folks about the likelihood of being cited for violations, or not?
Yeah, education's always a good thing. And we do have educational materials on our website. Some of these violations are properties that have been resold. The original owner understood the constraints on the property, the new owners, not necessarily. And that's why we have varying degrees of resolutions.
Thank you very much. That helps me to understand a little bit better, and I'll be happy to move the remaining.
I would just comment on this, that there are a couple of them that we've seen quite a few of these over the years, but there are a couple of these are pretty significant settlements, because there were apparently some pretty significant violations. So the degree to which the violations are serious seems to be a little bit more than the usual, if that's the case, I guess.
I would concur with that.
Okay, all right.
Oh, I did have one follow-up question about the one that was at 5380 Centerville, which is DJ Montague. And so the school system is cited as the owner, but I noticed the violation letter went to someone else. So they encroached onto the school property.
They absolutely did encroach on
Okay.
the DJ Montague property. We intentionally did not cite the school system because they were not the cause of the violation.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And
I'll move items 14 through 19.
thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we
I guess we want to do,
15 and 18,
Oh.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay,
so
so,
I'll move 15 and 18 now.
okay. Mr. Stevens?
Mr. McGlinnan,
Aye.
Mr. Hippel,
Abstain.
Stoll,
Aye.
Eisenhower,
Aye.
Ms. Larson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, so we,
So now move 14,
16,
16,
17,
17, 19.
20, 21.
Yep.
Oh,
We got 2021 already.
yeah, we got 20 and 21, so I think, no, go ahead just to make sure, please.
Mr. Hippel,
Aye.
Ms. Knoll,
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower,
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan, Ms. Larson.
Aye,
Motion carries.
thank you. And Chief Ash. And while Chief Ash is walking up, let me just say once again, not only the grant, but just the very important things that were listed in this consent calendar. I would just like to say thank you to everyone that played a role in that. There's several things that are very much needed. Chief Ash,
Good afternoon.
good afternoon.
Madam Chair, members of the board. So thank you for approving the resolution this evening to appoint Joe
Joe
Davis
Marshall?
as our
I kind of like
fire
that. Maybe
marshal.
he
Yeah,
can
not
do a
Joe Marshall.
cartoon.
Thank you. Joe Davis is our local fire marshal. While Joe was selected for the position back in October, the board action was required to appoint him as the fire official, which allows him to enforce the fire code as outlined in the county ordinance. So most of you probably know Joe or recognize him from some of his previous roles with us. Joe started with us in 1984. Has been in roles as a firefighter, a fire inspector, was the deputy fire marshal, which is really kind of what we call fire marshal now, used to be called deputy fire marshal. He was a district chief over shift operations and in support services, and ultimately was our deputy fire chief. Retired in 2013 and never really left. He immediately came back just in a matter of weeks and worked in part-time positions with us in emergency management. He was our employment coordinator for many years in managing our hiring processes, and then most recently came back to the fire marshal's office. And when this opportunity opened up full-time for him to come back, he felt like it was the right time and good opportunity for him. I think he just missed us. He wanted to be with us 5 days a week instead of 3 days a week. But certainly Joe's experience and mentorship in the office will be of tremendous support. Joe basically founded kind of what we know as the fire marshal's office today. So an opportunity to get his experience and guidance back for at least a few years is going to be really helpful for our office. So Joe's here if you have any questions for him, and at least wanted to recognize.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Any questions?
Just welcome back, Joe, and we really gave you a very warm welcome up at Premium Outlets. So,
Yeah, I hadn't faced that challenge in my previous 40 years, but hopefully it'll be another 40 before we do it again.
I'll save mine for when we get on the street.
I wouldn't expect any less, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Joey. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. That brings us to board discussions, Government Center update, Assistant County Administrator Brad Weinheimer. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Stevens, Mr. Kinsman, Ms. Dahlman. There is my PowerPoint presentation. So yes, I've been coming to visit with you all every month to kind of give you an update on the Government Center and where we were at. You know, those updates have been pretty brief. I'll apologize in advance. This one won't be quite as brief because we did get a lot recently. The first interim agreement that we had signed with HGJV was completed. Along with that came all the deliverables that were promised to us from that first interim agreement. So I'm going to sort of go over those items, and I know I've talked with you all individually kind of about these things. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to stop me or ask. So from that first interim agreement, we had a number of deliverables that came out there, and I'm going to go over each one of these in the following slides, so I'm not going to run through all of them right now. First was the preliminary geotechnical report, which included both field exploration and laboratory testing. They went out there, drilled some boring samples, took them to the lab. The results came back. Overall, very good soil conditions, but there were some concerns. Once we got down a little deeper, which would be required just because of the weight and the height of this building, the soils were a little softer, and it may require some soil modification to take place, some soil improvements, or some driven piles once we get further along in the structure. Not something we can't do. We certainly can do it. Of course, it just adds a little bit of cost to the project. So overall, good reports back on that, but just some concerns once we get down a little deeper. Next was the threatened and endangered species study. Mr. Hipple and I were talking about this right before the meeting. And here's just a list of the animals and plants that are considered in this area to be common, I guess, or seen in this area. Initial studies by the group did not find any concerns. No nesting patterns in this area. The conditions as far as growth for certain plants that weren't present on this site. Registries that they currently have that show nesting areas and things like that. There were no concerns with this site with any of the endangered species that are on this list right now. So hopefully that continues as we move forward, if we move forward with the project. Program Space Needs Study was probably the largest of the deliverables that we received from this first interim agreement. And that was the thing that I probably talked to you all about the most, at least during the first few months of this agreement. If you recall, we're consolidating a lot of various county functions into this one facility. Commissioner of the Revenue, County Admin, Economic Development, FMS, IRM, Social Services, Community Development, the County Attorney's Office, Fire Admin, Human Resources, Parks and Rec, and the Treasurer's Office. That's what we did when we went on the facility tours. We met with all department heads. We had the Mosley Architects Space Needs Study that was first done in 2020 that we updated a couple times after COVID. Did a lot of follow-ups, talked about consolidation of conference room space, because that first initial programming needs study came back. We needed about 224,000 square feet, if you recall that number. Through consolidation of conference space and some other things that we've done, we've got that. We had it down to about 175,000 square feet. Once we added back in some circulation, primarily for safety and security for employees and the public in the building currently sits right around 186,000 square feet. But that programming space needs study, that was a lot of work, a lot of meetings. Appreciate all those who went on tours, provided input. That included the meetings we had with staff, with the public, and that's what got us to those floor plans that you all have seen. But that was definitely the lion's share of the work that was done during this first interim agreement. Next, I'll talk a little bit about LEED. The county policy actually requires all new facilities to at least maintain or at least meet the LEED certified level. Back when LEED was first required, or the county came up with that policy, building code hadn't really caught up with some of the LEED requirements and some of the things that went along with LEED. Over the years, as building code changed and building requirements changed, we didn't have to really do anything different. We just went along with our normal building code and how things should be built. And currently we're sitting at 51 LEED points. The way the LEED system's calculated, 0 to 100 points. 40 gets you to that LEED certified, which is what's required by the county. Currently we sit at 51 points. So as I stand here today, without really making many modifications, just kind of doing what we do, we sit at 51 points. We may look to add a couple of more points, just so it isn't that close. Because once the building is near completion and they come out and actually do this study to find out what points we actually earn, you run the risk of maybe we thought that should earn a point and they didn't. So we may add a couple points, but talking to all of you all, I think pretty comfortable that we'll be at that LEED Silver if we move forward with the project and once it's completed. Traffic impact analysis, we've completed that. I will note that we completed that based on existing conditions and then build out for the facility. That build out included school administration being on site, so we will probably look to do a new traffic impact analysis with another potential option, which we've talked about a little bit already, is potentially a library being at that site. We don't anticipate that changing the recommendations that came out of that traffic impact analysis, because while the library may get more people throughout the day during those peak times of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., that's when school admin really had a lot of people coming and going, because that's when people come and leave from work. So we don't anticipate the improvements changing or the requirements changing, but right now the requirements are a right turn lane off of Long Hill Road onto Ashbury, a right turn lane off of Ashbury onto Depew, and then some restriping of some of the existing pavement, and then optimizing some of the signal timing on some of the traffic lights. So nothing really huge out of that, but those turn lanes are things that weren't in any original submission, but things that we're going to have to add. Water flow test model, and this will be brief. There's two really large water mains right there along Depew and Long Hill Road. Some concern over which one we were going to try to draw from, but they went out and did the studies and there's no issues there. Just done to make sure we have enough water pressure at the hydrants and sprinkler systems to serve the building. Preliminary schedule, and this is assuming this afternoon at 5 o'clock at the regular board meeting, I'll be bringing a resolution in front of you all to authorize the county administrator to enter into a second interim agreement, which would take us up to 100% design. Assuming that moves forward, the initial site work could begin later in 2025. That would mean a comprehensive agreement be brought before you sometime July, August, September timeframe of 2025, with site work starting right after that. That would give us a project completion date of somewhere in the mid-2028 range. Right now, they're showing August of 2028 for completion. Another thing that we had them update, if you recall, I think back before we even got the unsolicited proposal, we had RKG Associates do a cost comparison study where they looked at the cost to build a whole new government center versus maintaining, upgrading, refurbishing the current facilities that we're at. If you recall back then, I think it was 96-ish to 91-ish or something like that $1 million. So it was very comparable. They updated all the numbers, obviously, as new construction costs have increased, so have general construction costs. So the result of that study showed it's still very comparable to stay here or to add on or refurbish as opposed to building a new government center. It was still very close to being the same price, whichever route we choose to go. So the next steps, I kind of already mentioned this. You'll be voting this afternoon or later this afternoon on the second interim agreement. We do have to have some more discussion on the building addition. I know we've talked quite a bit about it. School admin or potentially a library, just having some discussion on if we're going to do it. If we are, what is it going to be? You know, obviously we're planning on doing 100% design. It doesn't make a lot of sense to do 100% design on something that we're definitely not going to put there. If it's something we might put there now or might put there later, sure, you know, you can certainly make that argument whether we build it today or build it 10 years down the road, we'd already have the plans developed for it. You know, I think Mr. Stevens and I talked a little bit this morning. I think this would be a good topic maybe for the board retreat in January, February, to kind of talk through some of that, look at some of our borrowing capacities and things like that to help with that discussion. So that'll be coming down the road. Decision we need to probably in the. Then I put a few pictures in here. These are the latest, the most up to date. I think you all have seen these, the current site plan showing that future building expansion. And this back or the Depew Road side, very similar to the ones that you all saw, I guess, the last board meeting where I showed these. This one's a little bit different. They lightened up a lot of the brick just to give it a little brighter appearance. I think some of the comments we heard from the board and the public was a little bit too dark, so I think that did lighten things up a lot. Took those glass windows out from the underground parking and put in vents there so you can see that different. The main entrance here, not much has changed on that. I think it's pretty similar. Again, some of the brickwork is a little bit lighter than you'd seen previously. And this, I don't know if you've seen this view. This is a view, if you're standing sort of looking at the entrance, would be to your left-hand side. So that'd be the front entrance for the public when they came up to the building. And that's the end of my slides. I'll be happy to answer any questions if y'all have any, or talk about any of the issues if you want to talk about them.
Ready to go.
The only comment that I had is that when we do discuss it at our retreat, I also hope that we'll discuss the future of this complex. Just speaking for myself, I'm interested in the county keeping it for public use. So and I guess that would have some bearing on what what's at the other center should it go forward.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions? All right. Thanks very much. That brings us to board considerations. Contract award, $903,635. Tuning Road Best Management Practice Retrofit. Barry Moses. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. I bring before you a resolution for a contract award in the amount of $903,635 to Henderson Incorporated for the Tuning Road BMP Retrofit Project. The Tuning Road BMP Retrofit Project will enlarge the stormwater facility behind the Tuning Road Convenience Center, Convenience Center, to improve the facility's treatment level and to enlarge its capacity to accept the drainage from an existing stormwater pond adjacent to Fleet Services. An existing Fleet Services pond is outdated and provides little stormwater treatment. Stormwater discharges from the existing Fleet Services pond will be diverted to the new stormwater facility, removing a source of erosion in the downstream channel between JCSA's property and Newtown. The existing Fleet Services pond will be abandoned and filled to provide additional area for county operations. Funds for this project provided by the capital budgets of JCSA, the Stormwater and Resource Protection Division, along with the Stormwater Local Assistance Fund grant from the DEQ. This resolution includes an appropriation from JCSA of $375,000 for the project. Henderson Incorporated has performed satisfactory work for James City County in the past, and staff recommend approval of the resolution. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Very much. All right, look to the board for a motion.
Motion for approval?
Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Mr. McGlinnan.
Aye.
Mr. Hippel.
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower.
Aye.
Ms. Knoll.
Aye.
Ms. Larson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That brings us to contract award, $854,710, James City County Recreation Center HVAC replacement. Mr. Abbott to give the staff presentation. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Stevens, Mr. Kinlan. Resolution before the board this afternoon is for the award of a contract to Warwick Mechanical Group for the replacement of the Recreation Center pool HVAC in the amount of $854,710. This project will consist of the replacing of 2 split systems and controls that provide conditioned air to the pool enclosure. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions? How long do you expect this to last?
Placement?
Any idea what the life expectancy is on it?
We have 15 years as life expectancy on natatorium equipment, and currently the equipment that exists is at 16 years of age, and this also will be concurrent with a pool renovation that will be going on.
And the other question I had was, when you start the project, how long do you think it's going to take? Will the pool be down while this is done, or is this something that will be worked on while the facility is still in use?
So the pool will be down during the renovation,
Okay.
and so it will approximately take about 2 weeks for the complete from demo to completion, but the pool will already be down at that given time.
Excuse me, when do you have that scheduled, do you know, to do that, to close it down? like an off-air time?
So preliminary, we're looking at the renovation for the pool over the summer, so we can utilize outdoor pools. The equipment lead time is about 24 weeks, so bringing it to the board in December will allow for the equipment to arrive somewhere in the neighborhood of June, July.
Doesn't matter when it is, rec center patrons take it very seriously when it's down, so.
They do, and we would like to be mindful of that.
Yes.
For sure.
So, all right.
Move the contract award.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stevens.
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That brings us to contract award, $859,000, police firing range site work. Hello.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair,
Good
members of the
afternoon.
board, Mr. Kinsman, Mrs. Dolman. The resolution before you, the board this afternoon is for the award of the contract to William Wills Contractor, Inc. for site development of the expansion of the existing police firing range at the landfill at Jolly Pond. Extending the police firing range to 100 yards will provide officers with the opportunity to practice at longer distances, improving their accuracy and readiness for a wider range of scenarios. Additionally, incorporating a 20-space parking area to ensure sufficient parking for officers, staff, and visitors, improving accessibility and convenience for all who use the facility. Together, these improvements will contribute to a more effective and functional training environment. I'm happy to answer any questions about this project.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Are you going out behind the existing firing range, going back up the hill kind of?
Yes, ma'am. So the firing line will come all the way to 100 yards. Then there is a 200-foot parking facility, and then another roughly 200 feet of drive aisle.
A berm behind that, correct?
The berm is already existing. There is no plans to upgrade that.
Save that. Okay. Thank you.
All right, look to the,
Oh, move the resolution.
thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That brings us to Title VI, Program and Implementation Plan for state and federally funded transportation projects. Good afternoon, Tom.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin in programs and activities of any entity that receives federal assistance. James City County is a subrecipient of federal and state funds for transportation improvement projects, and the county is considered a local public agency. It must have an adopted Title VI program and implementation plan. To ensure James City County can continue to receive federal funding for transportation projects, the attached Title VI implementation plan provides guidelines for reporting violations and preventing discrimination on all locally administered federally funded projects. Staff recommends approval of the attached resolution, adopting the Title VI program and implementation plan, and authorizing the county administrator to implement the Title VI program in compliance with federal law. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions?
Move to approve.
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That brings us to policy to address solar energy generating facilities. Thomas Weishong, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to the board. At the October board meeting, the board broadly discussed the draft solar policy, including the possibility of including a specific limit on the amount of land to be developed as large utility scale solar facilities within the county as part of the proposed solar facilities policy. Ultimately, the board provided staff direction to include language discouraging the use of forested land for solar farms. Staff has incorporated this guidance into the attached policy, which now includes the following performance standard, which states that solar facilities should avoid the use of forested land. Staff finds this draft policy meets the board's guidance, and we do recommend the board approve the attached resolution. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
I know how sad you will be to see this one possibly go. Are there any questions? All right.
Approve.
Okay, Ms. Knoll has moved approval.
Mr. McGlinnan.
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower.
Aye.
Mr. Hippel.
Aye.
Ms. Knoll.
Aye.
Ms. Larson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That brings us to contract award, 987,615 in-car, 67 in-car camera systems. Chief Jameson to give the staff presentation. Good afternoon, Chief.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Excuse me while I put my glasses on so I can read what I'm saying here. James City County Police Department requested capital improvement program funding for 88 in-car camera systems in the amount of $1,115,000, which appears in the adopted fiscal year 25, fiscal year 2026 budget, as being planned to begin in fiscal year 26 at $223,000 per year for 5 years. Police staff finds the purchase of in-car camera systems to be a high priority, as the video footage captured by the systems will help with prosecutions, aid with liability claims, and help managers better supervise officers in the field. The department has funding in its fiscal year 2025 regular budget in order to commence most of the 5-year purchase now for 67 in-car camera systems. The purchase requires the implementation of a contract for a term of 5 years. The first year cost to be paid this fiscal year of $100,062 with a 5-year contract amount totaling the $987,615. As required by our procurement policy and law, we have joined in a cooperative procurement agreement, which we have used before through the state of Minnesota, the Sourcewell agreement. We would be using that as well if approved. Adoption of the attached resolution will allow county administration in collaboration with purchasing division to enter into a 5-year contract with Axon Enterprises Incorporated for the purchase of 67 Axon Fleet in-car camera systems. The first year expenditure of $100,062 will provide for one-time purchases of routers, antennas, 1 year of user licensing, unlimited data storage, full warranty coverage, and 1/10 of the cost of the camera system. The remaining 4 years, paid at $221,889 each year, will pay for each year of user licensing, unlimited data, full warranty coverage, and the remaining prorated cost of the camera system. First year funds are available within the police department's current budget, and funds for years 2 through 5 will be available with a continued adoption of the planned police department CIP budget for this project. Staff recommends adoption of the attached resolution authorizing the contract award to Axon Enterprises in the amount of $987,615 for the procurement of 67 Axon Fleet in-car camera systems for the police department. And I know some of that is confusing, so I did bring some backup, just in case you have questions that they would need to answer. And ultimately what this comes down to is 45 of our vehicles had either non-working in-car camera systems or no camera systems. 2 more were approved with 2 more additional staff that you all approved last year, and we had 20 left over that were coming up for renewal this month. That's where we get to 67. The other 21 to equal the 88 will be in future years that we'll have to replace those as well. And if I answer any other questions you may have.
Other questions?
Answered my question.
Are these cameras that are automatic when the officer's in the car, or there's, if they've brought someone into the car with them, or?
So the way they're set up is they have what's called a 30-second continuous recording. So when you turn the lights on, the cameras automatically come on, but they record back 30 seconds. Not audio. They start audio at 30 seconds. It records the back seat for any type of prisoner transport, and also what's in front of the car, and also syncs with our body cameras and syncs with our tasers that we have. It's all integrated. So anytime something's activated, it will activate the body camera, the lights activate it, speed activates it. If officers are going over a certain speed, it'll automatically activate the in-car camera system.
Right, if there's no further questions, I'll look to the board for discussion and/or a motion.
Motion for approval.
All right, I think Ms. Knoll moved first, but Mr. Stevens?
Ms. Knoll.
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan.
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower.
Aye.
Mr. Hippel.
Aye.
Ms. Larson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That brings us to board request and directives. Ms. Knoll, do you have any?
I'll wait till the next meeting.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm waiting.
okay.
I'll just mention one thing. I'll leave something else for the next meeting, but just wanted to say how productive our meeting was with the city council and the school board last Friday. Think that in particular, we got to hear some very good news about the performance of our schools in the last year's evaluations and the real progress that's been made, especially in terms of reducing chronic absenteeism, which has a powerful impact on the performance in so many other ways. But express appreciation to the school system for putting together the program and answering the questions that we have.
Absolutely.
I'll wait for the next one.
Okay. All right, reports of the county administrator.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I talked with the fire chief about doing a report on the premium outlet fire. And he was going to be ready for that, so I might circle back to that after closed session and let him present that. I know he
Is
said
Mr.
he'd be,
Reinheimer going to get him?
I think
maybe?
he's going to see if he's close by.
Okay.
We might have moved a little quicker than he anticipated.
Okay. If he, I mean, we can wait a moment before we go into closed session if he thinks he's going to
Sure.
come back in.
We'll see.
Okay. It's like,
You can also get through your
okay, so I'll make the motion to go in. I'll read the motion, but we won't take it until after the presentation. I will need a motion to enter into closed session in a minute for these items. Consideration of a personnel matter, the appointment of individuals to county boards and or commissions pursuant to section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia. A, appointment to the Board of Adjustments and Appeals. B, appointment to the Wetlands Board and Chesapeake Bay Board. 2, discussion of the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body pursuant to section 2.2-3711A29 of the Code of Virginia and pertaining to the contract for the joint operations of schools between the county and the city of Williamsburg. 3, consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members pertaining to actual litigation where such consulting, or briefing an open meeting would adversely affect the negotiation or litigating posture of the public body, specifically the case entitled County of James City, Virginia versus Fidelity and Deposit Company of Maryland pursuant to section 2.2-3711A7 of the Code of Virginia. And so we'll have the chief come forward. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. As the chief's approaching, he was not ill-prepared. I didn't request him to make the presentation until prior to this meeting. He said he didn't have any pictures. I said he didn't need them. I think as the overachiever he is, he wanted to have something to present. And so I do appreciate the chief turning to rather quickly and giving you an update on the premium outlet fire. So, Chief?
Sure, thank you, no problem. Yeah, I think certainly the pictures tell the story a little better than just listening to me talk. So as you all are aware, we responded on November 23rd, Saturday morning at just before 9 a.m. to Williamsburg Premium Outlets for, I guess initially it was reported a structure fire. I think that was honestly our 911 center was struggling with what do I put it in as, because some of the initial callers said it looked like it had been an earthquake, there was smoke coming out of the ground, and there was a sinkhole. So our folks arrived, and this is working, Renee, right? Yeah, okay. When our folks arrived, we found something very similar to this picture. So, we've seen that before where a culvert or something else in a parking lot may collapse. I think in this case, the thing that's different about this is there was smoke coming out of that at times, and then at times it would go away. Other areas across the parking lot, you would see smoke come up around a tree and then go away. There were some vents from some storm drains. Smoke would come out of it and then stop. And we saw that over an hour or so while we tried to figure out what exactly is happening here, what's actually on fire. There's areas that said sewer, areas that said storm sewer, and Actually, Mr. Hippel was one of the folks who pointed out to us that it was an underground stormwater detention facility located here in the parking lot. So we knew we had a fire underground, and our stormwater team, we contacted Grace Boone. She got in touch with her folks and got our stormwater division out to help us. We're able to pull up some plans so we could get more information and understand really what was under there burning. So we know this was pervious concrete, so we could flow some water on it that allowed it to permeate down through the stormwater detention facility. Over the progression while we were there for a couple of hours, or actually most of the day Saturday, we saw other areas of collapse. You could hear it, it would make a sound, and then you'd see a section of the parking lot collapse. And with that, more smoke would come out, and again, kind of all over the place. Actually, initially, our crew was there and parked out, well away from this collapse area, but out in the parking lot, and actually saw one of the crepe myrtles in the parking lot drop about a couple of feet and realized it was time to move the truck. So we're very glad that they saw that and got the truck out of there before that was any issue. So throughout the day Saturday was really spent research, understanding what's happening on the ground. How do we apply extinguishing agent, right? Our choice is water. That's what we knew most of the time. And how do we put that in place? We knew very early it was ultimately going to take some heavy equipment. And working great with our partners from the property owners there at Williamsburg Outlets, started identifying contractors who may be willing to do the work. Late in the evening on Saturday when we left there, more areas of the parking lot had collapsed here. And you can see the water there because one of the things come up is, why didn't we flow water? We should have flowed water. Actually, we flowed probably 300,000 gallons of water on Saturday onto the pervious cover to try to hope it would trickle down. We also went out to the stormwater piping that's in the area and began to flow water through the stormwater piping to get it into that basin, hoping to extinguish that. And when we left there Saturday evening, it looked very similar to the picture you see here. Still a few wisps of smoke, but much better. And then our crews continued to come back every couple of hours throughout the night. We saw a little bit more smoke around 9 p.m., a little bit more around 12 p.m., some additional areas collapsed. And by Sunday morning, sections looked a little bit like this. So we believe as that collapse was occurring, it was allowing it more air to get to it. Basically, this basin consists of around 18 inches of gravel, about 7 feet of the plastic crates that make up the detention facility, and then another 3 feet of gravel on top, and then 6 or 8 inches of the pervious concrete on top of that. So a lot of contents there to shift and fall, and I think when you look at our final picture, some of the reason you may see areas that the plastic crates are not burned and other areas that are, partially because of flowing water, and I think partially because of those collapses allowed for void spaces that were covered in gravel and probably didn't allow that to burn. So by Sunday morning, this is early, about 6:45 in the morning, we had flamed. Most of the day Sunday was spent setting up. We stayed well out of the collapse zone. We set up some remote nozzles that allowed us to flow water. Some of those we borrowed from the city of Newport News that allow it to articulate back and forth so we could keep our crews away from the collapse area. And we flowed water for most of the day Sunday. We would cut that off at times and see what the smoke looked like. Very similar to a campfire or a fire you have in your house. When it's burning hot, right, when it tends to burn cleaner. So when you see flames, it tends to burn a little cleaner. When you apply water to it, it tends to make more steam and more smoke. And we were trying to find that balance between putting enough agent to maybe extinguish it, but other times it actually was better smoke conditions by allowing it to burn. And I know that sounds weird, and many of our citizens may be concerned by that decision, but we were trying to find a balance. An example I've given a couple of times is there was a light pole here with flame coming out, very similar you see in this picture, in a spot. We flowed 2 nozzles for a total of 1,000 gallons a minute for an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. We cut those off and flames came back out of the hole. That kind of told me that we were not able to get our extinguishing agent where it really needed to be. And ultimately, that's what led us to that decision to decide to let it burn. We were very early on, Virginia Department of Emergency Management, Regional Hazmat Officer came, conducted our initial air monitoring. York County Fire Department sent over their hazmat team and helped us do that air monitoring. The Department of Environmental Quality came to help us look at runoff and what were the effects downstream of firefighting. And also, this is still a stormwater detention facility, so what happens the next rain event, which was scheduled for Thanksgiving. So very early on, we engaged those partners to help us through this process. Despite the fact that there ultimately was plastic burning, it certainly had an odor. All of the levels that we were getting for carbon monoxide, hydrogen chloride, other things we may see in burning plastics were all below permissible levels. So while there was an odor associated, we did not order any evacuations in the neighborhood. really based on that air monitoring that was done throughout Saturday and Sunday. On Sunday evening, the Virginia Department of Emergency Management contacted the EPA. They sent a team out of New Jersey that arrived coordinator arrived Monday morning. A team arrived Monday afternoon and conducted separate air monitoring and air sampling to make sure that confirming the results we had seen on both Saturday and Sunday, and all of those results were consistent with that. So again, we flowed probably another 500,000 gallons of water on Sunday with really not much change, and ultimately led to that decision too. So late in the day Sunday, our police department drone team came and took some aerial photos. So you can see that collapse has progressed significantly from Saturday into late day Sunday. We were identifying where those areas of the tank were, so we knew what safe zones were set up. But we ultimately knew the only way to get in there was to get some heavy equipment. Those meetings were scheduled. Henry Branscombe LLC was the contractor who had done some repair work to this, was very familiar with the facility. And they came Monday morning to meet with the responders and the planning team on how we could start to address this. That meeting Monday morning, while it went very well, I think the coordination throughout this event was very good. It was not safe, not from an air quality standpoint, but from a stability and unknown sort of thermal load. The excavator weighed about 84,000 pounds and crawling out into a pile that's 12, 15, 20 feet deep with sort of unknown amount of quantity of plastic burning below them. And structural stability was not something that the operators or honestly our safety team was willing to risk. So we continued to work on the plan. We knew ultimately that was the best answer. So Tuesday morning, probably late in the day Monday, we had greater than 75% collapse. I think by Tuesday morning, we were probably 75, 80%. Throughout the day Tuesday, got 90% or better collapse. And the contractors were willing to start on Tuesday and mobilize some equipment. And by Tuesday evening, this picture is actually Wednesday morning, but by Tuesday evening, our crews worked in coordination with the excavator operators. We did some things that we're pretty proud of. I think one of the things that stood out to us is the excavator operators were willing to do what they did because they felt like we had their back. And I think that was something that was certainly very important to our folks. We set up a good rescue plan, had dedicated crews ready to go get the excavator operator. The Newport News Fire Department sent the 5 members of their hazardous materials team that allowed remote air monitoring for inside the cabin. We wanted to make sure that the excavator operator didn't pass out or experience anything as he was digging throughout the pile, really unknown what may come up. And ultimately, one of the things that we couldn't really clear is how to clear the visibility for the excavator operator and ultimately make that air space right around the excavator, one, so the excavator doesn't shut off due to smoke, and make sure it's safe for the operator. And the picture you see there is the City of Newport News and others throughout Hampton Roads have it's called a Loof 60. And that is basically a big fan on tracks. And that was able to push, it'll go up to 120 mile an hour winds. And they use it for tunnel response. But we're able to use that to push fresh air across the excavator and allowed them. So they spent all night Tuesday night and all day Wednesday. One of the excavator operators was there for almost 18 hours in the excavator. About 26 hours total, and they were able to go through that entire pile, turn over everything, and allowed our ladder truck hose streams to really reach what was burning and keep everything cool. And ultimately, we're able to extinguish that late late Wednesday evening, and be home for Thanksgiving. So you've probably seen some pictures, but that's sort of what the end of it is. There's burnt plastic, there's unburnt plastic, there's a lot of gravel, there's PVC pipes that were part of the stormwater risers that were cleanouts. And then our last picture is just sort of an aerial view of kind of the scale of what we're looking at. Initial estimates, we thought it was close to 3 acres. We think it's a little more like 1.7, 1.8 in the stormwater facility. The parking lot's closer to 4 overall. So certainly not something we had experience with before. But luckily, all the relationships and partners we had built over the years, we really could call on all of them to come together and help out. So if it hadn't been for everyone else coming together, they had capabilities that we didn't have. We had capabilities they didn't have, and really that team effort. I certainly know there's a lot of angst for citizens about how are you telling me that plastic burning is not toxic. There was certainly a smell associated. If you have respiratory illnesses and are irritated by smoke, you would have been irritated by this, just like you would a woods fire or other types of smoke. And the decision, I shared with Mr. Stevens when he was on the scene multiple times, the decision to let something burn is not something the fire department takes lightly. That's certainly against everything else that we do all of the time. But ultimately, we felt like it was the best for the smoke production and certainly the safest for our folks and the operators until we could get in there and manage it. So I know there's a lot of confusion about why we did that, and certainly, extended operation. We had crews there for about 122 hours. We estimate we flowed at least 1.5 million gallons. I think we're probably closer to 2 million gallons of water ultimately. But it really was a very well-coordinated operation between all of our partners. So, be happy to take any questions or go back to any of the photos.
Questions?
Just one question, and I don't know if you can answer this now, Chief, or not, but I understand that the detention pond was basically constructed out of plastic crates, whatever you want to say. Will there be an expectation that as this parking area is restored, that they use a different kind of material?
No, I'm not sure. I'm certainly not the expert in that. I know our Stormwater and Resource Protection Division has been engaged with them in what's next. They're certainly worried about, they have brought in portable pumps and other things in place now to make sure that any runoff from rain events between now and the ultimate solution are addressed. I'm sure the property owners are having discussions on, does it go back to being a surface pond? Does it, I think the parking is certainly important to that business, especially the timing of this near Black Friday. The parking spots, I believe it's 500 parking spots in the rear parking lot there, so that's very important to them. We are aware of others in the county who use different means. Some are plastic, some are crates, some are a new piping design, and then there are in fact some that are concrete. So I suspect that it would be a factor that the property owners and their insurance companies and everything will be taken into account for rebuilding. So, thanks.
And when they built this facility, this was the largest facility built in the United States when they built this one. So it was a fairly large undertaking. And our new building won't have crates underneath it. Nor plastic, that's right. Be concrete.
So I've heard about this happening in other places possibly with the plastic crates, that they've had this same issue in these underground BMPs.
I've heard that. We have not been able to find any just like this. We've found stormwater pipes under the interstate that a wildland fire or a spill or something else has caused them to ignite. I've seen some videos just searching the area. We have searched this for weeks. We've found videos of stormwater pipes in a parking lot from drop inlet to drop inlet catching on fire due to debris or something else in there. I had not found one yet that we can put our hands on of a full facility like this. Although I suspect we're probably not the first, but I don't know that for sure. We haven't been able to find anything. We have an investigator who lives in the county from the ATF, who sometimes will come and help us just because he's here and available, and he's reached out to a lot of his contacts. The EPA and DEQ is reaching out to their contacts to see if we could find a similar event in somewhere else and kind of get what were the lessons learned from them, what were potential causes. We said it very early on, we knew that we were going to have to destroy most of it in order to put it out. So that makes investigation very difficult. We've got theories of things, but we have nothing that we can point to as to what may have been the cause. We're certainly interested, as I know everyone else is, to make sure if there's others of these, we prevent those. It's going to be very, very difficult for us to ever know what started it. We know what was burning, we just don't know what was the ignition source for it to burn.
And also as we've done other items, just like the rescue at the dam years ago, this can also be a learning tool across the United States, but it also can be an award for James City County on how this was handled. So, I'd like to make sure that staff looks into that because, credit needs to be given to everyone involved in the project.
Yeah, our folks are, when we complete our report and investigation report, we're going to package all that sort of in the after action. And I suspect there will be opportunities where other departments, certainly here in the Hampton Roads area, a number of them have already reached out and said, hey, we have some of these in our area. Hey, what'd you find? What was the cause? What can we do to prevent? How did you get this resource there? So I think those lessons learned are important. We certainly have received those lessons learned and many other things from other departments, and we'll be willing to share all of that with folks as well.
And maybe something too for the engineering groups out there, that come up with these facilities and And I know the biggest thing is maintenance. If products slip into there and get left in there, you know, which if they get through all the stuff to get underneath there and the fire starts, it can start as easy as a cigarette. I mean, you know, so those are things that, you know, might be some lessons learned in the future as far as maintenance of facilities like these.
So, I was going to ask you what if you, after an event like this, if you sat down and studied, like what went well, what didn't go so well, but it sounds like that you do that. And I just have to tell you, the premium outlets have just expressed such appreciation to you and your department and all those that assisted you. Because yes, initially there was some shutting down of a few stores, but you said to them they could open them back up on Saturday. That was a decision that they decided not to make. But on Sunday they were back open. You were ensuring the safety of the shoppers, and like you said, brought in so many different agencies and to do the best that we could with the air quality and making sure that we were testing it. And I know they are very grateful for all that you did. And it was just a very impressive operation. First and foremost, the safety of the people that live around there was paramount. But certainly having something that is a great partner with James City County Premium Outlets, and as you said, during one of the busiest times of the year, and making sure that was okay. And you have my deep appreciation, you and your department.
Thank you.
And if you pulled this together in no time, you must have been an ace student, I have to say, because this was very.
Some people may call me a procrastinator. I think I do my best work at the end.
Well,
so-
this was outstanding. So thank you very much for the explanation. I appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'll move the resolution that you read on closed meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens.
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Close need a motion to certify the closed session.
Move to certify that we only spoke about those items we indicated we would speak about going into closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower? Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I need a motion for a resolution authorizing the county administrator to enter into an agreement to settle pending litigation.
Motion for the resolution?
Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan? Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Okay, we have a motion for appointments. Appointment to the Board of Adjustments and Appeals, Mr. John Odie, to fill the vacant position with an expiration term of December 10th, 2029. And then for the Chesapeake Bay and Wetlands Boards, to adjust the expiration date for Mr. Mark McElroy's alternate term to March 31st, 2025, and to appoint Mr. Matthew Woolsey as an alternate to fill the balance of a vacated term that expires on February 28th, 2027.
Mr. Stevens?
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower? Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to adjourn until 5 p.m. on December 10th, 2024 for the regular meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Knoll. Mr. Stevens?
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Hippel? Mr. McGlinnan? Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye. We're adjourned.